on the independent practice radius, diameter, area worksheet. The first problem says calculate the area of each circle. For this we need to remember the formula. Our formula is A equals pi r squared. Another way to say this is area is equal to 3.14 times the radius times the radius. Remember, the square part means you multiply the radius times itself. So we'll use that formula for each problem below here. Now it's important to remember the difference between the diameter and the radius. The line that goes all the way across the circle, that's the diameter. The line that only goes halfway across the circle, that is the radius. So we want to be careful that we are identifying the correct measurement. So let's start with number 1. And this line goes all the way across the circle. So we know that this is the diameter, and the diameter is 100. Now the radius is half of the diameter, and I could, on my calculator, do 100 divided by 2, or I might just know that half of 100 is 50. So the radius in this case is 50. Now in order to find out the area, A, I'll need to use our formula. Pi times radius, which is 50, times radius again, 50. I'll multiply these two together. 50 times 50 is 2,500. And for pi, we're using 3.14. So we have 3.14 times 2,500. For that, I'll need to use my calculator. And I get 7,850. And the units here say meters, but that's not actually correct, because remember, we're talking about the area, and area uses square units, so the area is actually 7,850 meters squared. So I'll write that up here at the top. (7,850 meters squared). On to the next one. For this one, we're given the radius. So we know that the radius is 4. And the diameter is twice the radius. 2 times 4 is 8. And once again, we'll use the same formula. So we'll do pi times radius, which is 4, times radius again, which is 4. Now 4 times 4, that makes 16. And for pi, once again, we're using 3.14. So we have 3.14 times 16. I'll use my calculator again. 3.14 times 16 equals 50.24. And once again, our unit is meters squared, not meters. So make sure to correct that. Now the next two problems are basically the same. The units are different, but the way to solve the problem is the same, so you can use the same strategy. Let's move on to question number 5. Question 5 says, find the area of this semicircle. And there's some step-by-step here that will help us to solve the problem. So let's start with step A, which says find the radius. Now this measurement that's given is actually the diameter. Since the diameter is 10, we know that the radius is half of 10, and so we could do 10 divided by 2, and that equals 5. So our radius in this case is 5. So we could think of it like halfway across the circle, and that's 5. Okay, now it says write the formula for the area of the circle, and once again our formula is 3.14 times the radius, or you could say pi r squared. It's up to you. Step C says rewrite the formula with the information given and solve. So instead of writing the radius, we'll write 5 instead. So let's do 3.14 times 5 times 5. And we could rewrite this as 3.14 times 25. 5 times 5 is 25. If I put that into my calculator, I get 78.5. And you might think that we're done here, but actually this is for the full circle, but we don't have a full circle here. We have a half of a circle. So in order to find half of the circle, we're going to need to do some more math. And I like to think about it like this. The formula that we did is for the area of this whole circle. We have only half of the circle. And so in order to find out half, we need to divide. And we need to divide it into two parts because there's two halves that make up the circle. So we're going to divide by 2. So we'll take our 78.5 and we'll divide that by 2. And when we do that, we get 39.25. And that's our final answer. We need to add units though. In this case, where the units given are centimeters, so we can write cm. And since we're finding the area, we need to make it squared because we always count the area in square units. So our final answer is 39.25 centimeters squared. Let's move on to page 2. On page 2, it says, calculate the area of each circle. Use the formula for the area of a circle to calculate. Now, in this section, we're not given the dimensions of the circle, and so we'll need to count it for ourselves. And so remember that when we're calculating the area, we're really just interested in the radius. So what we'll do is we'll make a dot in the center of the circle here, and then we'll count how many spaces we need to travel to get to the edge of the circle. Now I could draw my line towards the right. I could also draw my line down. I could also draw my line up. It won't matter, it will be the same distance. Whichever makes more sense to you. For some reason it just makes sense to me to draw the line to the right. Now I'm going to count the spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in this case, the radius is 6. Now it asked me for the diameter. I don't really need the diameter. I know it's twice the radius though, which is 12. 6 times 2 is 12. Now I'll need to show my math work here, and I want to start off with the formula for the area of a circle. And once again, the formula for the area of a circle is this one. Oops, that's too big. That's a little better. So the formula is area is equal to 3.14 times the radius times the radius. Now I'll fill in this formula with the information from this circle. So 3.14 stays the same, and the radius is 6. So I'll do 3.14 times 6 times 6. And when I put that in my calculator, 3.14 times 6 times 6, I get 113.04. And now, in this case, since the units aren't given, I'm just going to write my answer as 113.04 units squared. Make sure to put the 2 up there so that we know that our units are squared. Let's try one more of this type of problem. Once again, I'll put my dot in the center of the circle here, and then I'll count the spaces to get to the edge of the circle. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3 spaces. So our radius is 3. The diameter is twice the radius, or 2 times. So 2 times 3 makes 6. Now let's show our work to find the area. We're going to use the same formula. Area is equal to radius times radius. And in this case, the radius is 3. Oh, I forgot to put pi. So area is equal to 3.14 times radius. So that's 3.14 times 3 times 3. And when I put that in my calculator, 3.14 times 3 times 3 is equal to 28.26. So my area will be 28.26 units squared, as always. Now the next problem is the same, so I'll let you try that one on your own. But let's move on to problem number 10, because this one's a little bit different. In this case, once again, we don't have a full circle. We've got half of a circle, or what looks to me like a half of a circle. And another thing to note is that this 200 here is not the radius. That's actually the diameter. So the diameter is 200, which means that the radius must be half of that. So the radius must be 100. Once again, we'll use our formula. Area is equal to 3.14 times radius. And we'll fill in 100 for the radius. So we have 3.14 times 100 times 100. Now, I could use my calculator. We could also do this in our heads by just adding some zeros or moving the decimal point. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, so we'll need to move the decimal point 4 places over. And when we do that, we will have 3, 1, 4, and then 2 more zeros. And the decimal point would go here. So we have 31,400. But remember that this shape is not a full circle. It's a half of a circle. We're missing this lower half here. So we need to take our answer and divide it by 2. 31,400 divided by 2 will equal 15,700. So our final answer is 15,700 meters. And once again, we'll have to do squared because we're talking about square units here, measuring area. We'll skip problem 11 since it's quite similar to some of the others, and we'll move on to question 12. Question 12 says, I'm thinking of a number. When I multiply the number by itself, I get the following answer. Find the missing number for each problem. So what's important is that both numbers here are the same number in these missing spaces. So for instance, I could put here a 2 and a 2, but I couldn't put a 2 and a 7. That won't work. It needs to be the same number. So what number multiplied by itself equals 81? Well, knowing my times tables, that must be 9. 9 times 9 is 81. If I wasn't sure, I could guess and check by dividing 81 by different numbers until I got the same number answer. So I could do 81 divided by 10, 81 divided by 6, 81 divided by 7, and when I do 81 divided by 9, my answer is 9. So I know that 9 times 9 is 81. For the next one, what number times itself equals 144? It's 12. 12 times 12 equals 144. Now, I won't spoil all the problems for you. I'll let you do the last two on your own.